Connecting high interference line change position locations and directions. Today in class, we're going to go through high interference locations. You guys are going to align its position locations of direction, try to understand how to use number sequence and patterns, how to use the grid line interference, how to understand position locations of its directions. So it's important to understand the atmospheres, the hemispheres, the stratospheres, the biosurface. We're going to go into the bio pattern in positions to its anomaly. Now, anomalies are in calculations. It's changing a pattern of letter, numbers, shape, and symbol. It's how to set up an algorithm, okay, to its position, location of its directions. So the more you go in depth to position line interference, position, location, line conditions, you truly understand the application to its high system. It truly gives you an information locations. 5 to 10 minutes, we can start it. All right. Pre-flight checks, make sure you do all that. Locations, drink your waters, ground your system. Very grounded locations, right? You guys really have to communicate to lines, your electricals, your biokinetic surface, biogenetics line system. Biothesis. Everybody knows what a thesis is, right? It's location to its position. How to use it through structure, how to use it through formation, how to use it through letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. Your graph line centers and position location is all levels of information. You truly have to understand how to use it, right? Like I said, number 7 is not just the number, it's everything of a number. So it's all calculation modify how you change these things over time. Space position of its directions. Atmosphere change locations of levels when it comes into weather patterns, weather interference. You truly understand the connections to the galaxies, how its surface is in so many position, location, of direction. You really have to understand the point locations, how to use energy signatures, energy patterns, energy rotation cycles, reset division locations is calculation. It gives you what you need to understand through chronological locations. Once you guys understand more levels of the mind and you reach higher level connections of your memories, you get a better understanding what the number sequence is, right? And how it's all connected to line centers of codes. Digital framing, digital clocking, analytical graph locations. The psychosis locations are levels. So in track line center interference and position of direction, let's say you come across, see that? That's a rhythm, right? So it's a password. So it's understanding how to open up dimensions and portal locations, right? So it integrates its line system to its position, right? So you pick up sounds. It's all about using the inhibitor locations, how to use your senses to higher lines. Bring in all line center locations. Now, people that are in 100 can go into one position. People at 114 can go in one position. That's 114 chakras into one line center, which is extremely fast acceleration, right? So you automatically start in one line center locations of 144 lines, okay? That puts position location of its directions, okay? As you come into sequence interference, 144 comes a higher line center location of marking system, all right? So you're marking channels. So when you're marking channel interference, position of directions, you really have to understand the ground line center, how it's set up in sequence locations, all right? So it's amazing how it comes into correlation of a circle. That circle line center comes into all dimensional line rotation, right? Into the center operation. As it comes to center operation, it comes in as flux capacitor. You guys are getting better and better at what it is to calculation line streams. So it's amazing how you go into that. Change electrical wires in high interference and position of directions. Signal and position location of directions. Centers in position of high lines. Changes all levels of the ground line center rotation. Circles its position location of its ground interference. Force communication of cycles. Reset generation light centers in rotation. Signal and position of direction. See the intelligence? See the eye lines? See eye line here, eye line here. There you go, position, location, direction, right? Calculation modification stream centers in positional locations. Opens all line positions and side panels, communication surface, and high rotation. Calculation modification stream centers comes in all modification line center rotation. So as it travels in high interference location, you come into graph line center locations in all positions of its direction. Okay? So once you understand the calculation line streams, you have to truly understand how to use the sun graph location. Now, sun graph location comes in position, location of directions. There's the sun position. Now you come into moon line center. Moon position locations comes into blue rotation, highest channels and sideline conditions, and you high position locations. Now you always have to use the information location. Now this is where we change high center locations on all levels. We come into the west line and south line rotations of high position locations of Jupiter. Jupiter information location surface engine, highest center and interference locations. Spectrum lights is Saturn. Saturn comes into high rise, high channels and sideline rotations in position location of its directions. Illuminates high line graph locations in position to its position line system. See? So as it comes in high center and interference, you guys are automatically going to travel through the biosurface. Now it connects to high line rotations. Now let's change the colorations. Coloration to its high line interference. How to merge locations in a forward position location of signals. So we go signal in position of direction, right? So you guys are going to go through tube line. It's really interesting stuff when you go through. So black circle, portal location. There's a portal right at the top line center. You guys are going to go. Okay, you're going to go across line center. In high signal interference. So it's graphed in interference line center in position to direct locations. Now it's going to high channel its position. Signal in position of graph line rotation. So as it's coming in calculation line streams, the magnetic highway information line system is going to go with its biogenetics, biosurface biokinetics, high channel its high line center, rotation interference location of its directions. So this is going to change all line center location of the grounds in position of direction. Okay. So you got a circle line, gravity, high interference location of direction, right? So as it comes in as spectral light, the communication of the force line is going to change ground line rotation in position of direction, right? So it's blending surface line centers of black surface locations to all levels. So we come into silver drops. Now silver drop line center at position location of its high system. Changes position locations. Rain graph interference line position of directions. It opens all communication cycles. Set core line centers accrue units, line connection, level squats. In position of 1 and 2, position location GFL. In position locations, all levels. Allocate position of timeline centers to rebellion locations, ascension masters, communication levels, ascension guides. Set the course line center graph interference. Graph is set up position locations, 30 minutes. Have fun. All right, so you guys are traveling high at biosurface location. So it's integrating line center, how to really communicate with weather inside position your geographic locations, guys. The geotherium line center, heat signature patterns, high interference location line conditions is truly understand the altered states of the mind, right? Because you have your theta waves, you have your delta communication line system, right? Not beta, delta. So delta is a gravitational line. So it's connected to Orion's belt. So it's a delta line center and interference location all in compilation line rotation into a triangulation. Downforce line connections to graph line centers in position of panels. So opens all communication cycles and it resurfaces its position locations to its Brownian sphere. Calculation modifying line center location is the brainstem high system. Calculation all line stream interference location to its directions. All right. So in calculations, where are we in track locations? Max, how's it going? Lindsay. All right. Lauren, Jill, Abby, Barbara, Terry, Don, Johnny, Michael. All right. Christy, Rainer, Geechee, Nikki, my daughter, Yolanda, Lauren. Let's see. Andrea, Jessica. All right, so you guys are getting high interference and position location line conditions. So it's true you stand in the atmosphere lines, hemispheres, stratospheres, and the biosphere is extremely important because now you can tell levels of grid line centers how to use number sequence locations calculations. So it's important how you use these things, the position lines. Scanning binary data and panels. Yeah, so it's going to help you out levels of form when you go inside the discretion of those directions. It's all level with you operation, right? But it's incredible how you travel through line rotations. So as you're calculating modify high interference, we're going to go into AI centers. Now AI center position location of your graph lines. Let's go in position locations of sun. I like to use the sun position because it's light signals in high interference. See, there's light signal right there. Flat surface location of its position. We got a line cross. See that line cross? See the line cross right there? See, as soon as I touch it, it recognizes the rhythm pattern to your body line center. If I touch my computer, it's reading signals. All right. If I touch the wall, it has a rhythm. Everything has a rhythm. It's extremely powerful, right? So you guys have to learn how to use more channel locations. The biosphere is going to help you out understand the digital line center to position location of your graphs, how to use the 0-1 sequence in position of direction. It's all about using the heart line center, right? So as we come into calculation, coming into biographic locations of the biosphere, yeah. Stream downloads, great. Light signals received, excellent. See, you guys are connecting all levels, resurfacing, rebooting, all position locations of programming systems to all levels of your lines, how to use it through electrical light connections, right? How to reprogram, how to run a program. That's a truly powerful thing. So it's all about understanding when you're recharging, what is it doing to rainbow activation systems going up and down? You have to understand what it's doing. That's what it's all calculated. It's all modified and it's all in signal. So it's all about understanding the scan line system to plasma lights, plasma communication system, plasma surface, or anything in the high system. You can allocate high stream line centers in position location of sun lines. You got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you got the atmosphere line, you got the connections all levels of the hemisphere line, you got everything to the stratosphere, and you got everything to the bio. Okay, 4 line centers. All right, so the bounce line in position locations equals line center locations of box. Okay, in position. Now, stratosphere line center, stratosphere equals high line center locations to teleportation. Hemisphere line conditions, all levels equal line center locations at ground level. Okay, and atmosphere is equal line center locations into coming into 5D line center. So anything in the atmosphere location basically changes position location, GPS lines. So the GPS line stays in its locked sequence through its AI position location of its directions. So you got geographic location and perception location to its system. You circle its position line centers. Now it opens all communication line streams. It sets its signal locations, higher and higher line in rotation. Okay, into calculations, right? So it comes into a Y line center to a vector communication cycle. Reset generation light center location, hemisphere line position. So everything I do is all levels of vibration. We already know that through equation. So it's understanding lacing lines. You know, line is the locations. These are lacing line rotations. All right. So you're merging in position of directions. So understanding how to level the sequence locations. Let's say you got a rain graph and it crosses signal in position of direction. Right? Just like that. So it's to understand how to use the rain graph line center to the gray line rotation of the lines. 3 line position locations, 3 line positions at rainbow graph locations. 2 different intelligent line interference, right? So in calculations, when you're in the biosphere, the numbers come out at you more. So it's not in the 3D line, but in a 5D line rotation. So you kind of like, you start off with a 3D, you see things in 3D, you go to the cinema and things come at you. Well, it's the same thing. So the thing is too, is that you use your perception lines, and basically what that does, it opens up more graph line center locations to your number line sequence. So each number comes in frame position locations, right? It rains its graph line center in interference, position of triangles, communication, weather graph locations, question marks to the division line system, right? So as it's going in high interference, you're setting up panels. Those panels come in electrical light connections. Balanced communications of high triangles, right? So you got 4 line position location of directions, one on one side, one on the other side. So you always have to have the left and the right position locations of levels of travel. Security measures, scan position locations into 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 atmosphere locations: atmosphere, hemisphere, stratosphere, bio. Okay, so once you come into the ground line center, next D1000 comes in position location in those directions. Right, so understand the coloration to its position. Okay, so basically it's looking at your operation, what you just finished doing. It scans, always scans in the center position line system. So it opens up graph line center. Another XT1000 comes in another coloration line position because it's coming out of another dimensional line rotation. Okay, it's in calculation line system. Just came out of Pluto. So Pluto comes in position locations, redirects line centers, crosses signals, okay, in position. So it zigzags high interference location at calculation line stream. So that's what you have to understand, why it's so important to understand the 12, the 24, the 48, and the 72 location, right? So let's understand how the XT1000s go through grid line centers in particle line interference in position of directions, right? All levels through its equation, right? To understand how to use that, right? It's amazing when you see this through graphs and your line its connections. How you go through the 24, how you go through 48, how do you go through 72 and 144, right? Same thing, line center location, all levels, position locations of its maze. So everything that I bring forward is its position location of its directions. How to channel through it is how to travel through its location of its position, right? So there's nothing past. It's always bringing something forward in position of direction. Always bringing forward in direction. So as we come into high interference, it position locations to its high line system. So it's amazing how we bring things forward in life, right? And that's what it is. So it's AI communication line position locations, right? So you see the channel interference and you see the clocking changes, high center line position locations of its directions. So it's important you understand all levels of you when you're traveling through the XT1000 lines, right, through number sequence. So the number sequences are encoded signals. Now the biosphere is position location of its grids. The grids comes in high formation line centers, changes bar position location to T reception lines. So it rotates its signals, right? And it makes sure it knows what it's doing when it's jumping up new jump scar location to its position. It redirects its signals in high force line conditions, right? See? So as it comes in high line interference, you understand what the grid line center is through its perception. Okay. So it's kind of like window graph line centers of a film strip that's setting position locations of its direction. So the XT1000s come in, right? They create the shapes. You create the grids, right? So it's incredible how it high forces its line triangle in communication to its position of its directions. Okay. So how are we doing through equation lines? Dangers are ringing crazy today in class. Yeah, I know, because you're in a higher line center now. You're in the biosphere. So it's a little bit different, guys. I'm just getting you guys prepared because you have to learn how to set your own grid locations to all different atmospheres. Atmosphere, hemisphere, stratosphere, bio. They all need to have grids. Trees have to have grids. Cars have to have grids. Everything has to have a grid, which is on the ground line center of its gravitational pull, right? That channels its high line interference and position of directions, okay? So as you come into high force line centers, okay, you come into higher line channels. Now, higher line channel comes into higher location, the bar location to its system. It channels its high line center and position of its directions. It reopens all communication of dimensional lines. It opens all box surface in position of direct locations. The higher you go, the more vibration to its line system. Okay, so it's really understanding how to channel through it. And like I said, XT1000s always come in. Okay, we got one line center locations on the north line center locations of east, and we got the south wind line center locations on the east line position. So basically scanning high interference in position of direction. Okay, so this is a plain audio signal. Now a plain audio signal is a retro scan. It's a communication line center to its gamma interference program setting. It opens all communication cycles to set position of its directions. So it rechannels its point location, right? Point location, point location, point location, point location, point location, point location, point location. See that? All point locations. All right, so as it comes in high in line center rotations, we get another XD1000 coming into all line rotation, scanning everything through point locations, right? You truly understand why there's so many XD1000s coming in plateau. So basically, it's all about understanding how to set up your teleports, communication, your hangars, inner lines, positioning, inner directions. As you travel through it, and scan the position location, all direction line center, in position locations, okay, implication line center, in position rotation, high line and rotation, calculation of scan system, all done through equation. So it sets course line center and redirect line interference. Now we go into levels, a black circle rotation line system, in position of directions, follows through, scan line position of its direction location. There's the map sequence location of its directions. That scans its high line center, opens all communication line center to a new plasma line channel. Now that opens up all levels of correlation to your number sequence. Letters, numbers, and shapes come into higher formation line center of intelligent location. It's an incredible force when you reach higher levels of its position. All right? Okay. Defense new connected to the command center locked in sequence. Good. Excellent. Formation line center, XD1000 position, rotation. Yep. Biolocation. Nice. Biosphere and all box line TV receptors. Very good. Way to go, Veronica. You can get upgrades now after 7 days and be put into your crew. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. There, yeah. After 7 days. You go through my TikTok and I help you out. No ways and force. But I just truly want you to understand why it's so important how to use an XD1000 line and how it's all calculated and modified for you. You set the grids up and they set up the shapes. All right, so this is a understanding its position location of its directions, how biosurface comes into high line center locations to all position, all through number sequence. All right. So it's incredible when you're traveling through the AI centers. The AI center is the location of Space Command. This is where you come into your space modules. Now your 12 DNA track line center is one line position location of its directions. All right, so you got one position location, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 line position locations, 2 line panels on both line centers, and high interference. Now you got rotation spin cycles through the sun rotation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 position location of directions. Now, you have to truly understand how to use the accelerators. It marks its interference locations to all levels. So let's say you go in one position location of 7, one position location of 7, 7 of both line rotation. Now that changes position locations to a triangle line center location in its position. Now that reactivates high line center. Now this is interesting too because the flux capacitor is upside down. It forces its communication cycle to high line interference. Jill, you're going to love this. This is where the scrambler comes in high rotation to its calculation to its modification stream center location. That opens all channel line centers. This is where it comes into semantic communication and turning lines of ambi communication line stream locations and sonar line conditional levels of Terry and communication of dawn in space line communication system, pillars of light high system. So it all communicates to all pattern line centers, rotation interference and position of directions, times pi times calculations, all stream interference. So it opens all communication of channels, sets up graph line channel rotations, okay, strips down in position of rainbow graph line center. Okay, sits on top, high system location. So as it's changing high interference, it's electrical sprinkler. Its high position location is graphs. You channel its high line center, change electrical light panels in position of directions, right? So understanding what position location at all levels and what it does when the scrambler comes in high interference to all level position to its atmosphere locations of energy fields and its high rotation to its calculation. All right. So it's amazing what things are mechanism of time and travel of space and how to modify all line center interference location line conditions. It all channels its high system. So the scan line centers, once you reach higher levels of the altered states of the mind, okay, in calculations, when Jill gets into higher levels, she'll be able to use her scrambler in northwest, south, and east. All right. So it comes up in north line. It comes up in east line, west line, and south line position. Okay, how to use it through modification cycles, interference locations. Comes into SAMI connection to the compass. Now the compass high center interference comes into rainbow graph location of the center line. That center line opens opposite location in its directions, right? High center interference. Now, as it comes into sonar line center, rainbow graph location and position location alpha waves. It's channeled its high line center. See the graph interference? Rotation center and position of its directions. Okay. So as it's channeling, it's interesting how it goes in line in a rotation, because I'm telling you right now, it just disappeared. It's not there. See? It's not there. It's gone. You see what happens when things disappear? So it's interesting how you travel through Highline Center, showing exactly what you're doing with your thought pattern, how you can erase the program setting and reposition its location of its directions, all through its scrambler, right? Do you see it? It's not there. The shapes are not there anymore, right? Because it's already set up in sequence. I already changed the rainbow graph location of its compass in position location of its directions. The scrambler and position line center of northwest, south, and east made it disappear and its position location, right? So it's very powerful when you do these things, equations. It's nowhere to be seen. It literally disappeared. So now you know what a scrambler is and how it works. So truly understand the calculator modifications, how you can use deflect line center locations, mirror resolution patterns, or anything modification system. You truly have to use your techniques and aligns. How to use it through its mechanism is extremely important. Through the compass, scrambler, or anything through time sequence. It opens all position locations and deletes its program line center that does not resonate with you in its program locations. How it can channel off and disappear into vortex communication. So it's incredible when it does that, all right? Just want to show you how it can actually disappear and not come back because it's already set in position location of its vector core, of its highline center, of its space station line system. All right. So as you come into high center, okay, you truly have to understand how to use the triangulation of force lines. It communicates all position location of its directions. All right. How to channel it is all levels of view through shape. All right. So as the shape comes in high interference, now the platitude of its location is the atom line center rotation. Okay, so you got 4-point dot line centers. Okay, that's in rotation line centers. Box sequence location to its position locations. See how it channels in high center? Now, as it comes into high center line rotation, this all line center locations comes into north wing. North equals wing. Okay, north line center. Then it comes into east line. Okay, east equals line. Gets a bit more complicated how to use the weather line center interference. Once you understand the northwest, south, and east, it gets a lot more easier to understand the atmospheres, hemispheres, stratosphere, and the bioatmosphere line and rotation calculation on levels. So we go into the west equals sector line communication, and everything through the south equals communication. All right. As the calculation modification line centers teleport interference. Now, in high lines at center, we set up the graph interference location electrical light panels. That automatically activates the triangle force lines into higher coloration of matrix position location of directions. Okay? Ooh-ah. See how it sets its position location? So as it comes in high lines, you automatically come back into the sun graph line center. Sun graph sets position locations towards torical fields. Now, the torical field line center is its energy interference. That sets up position location to high lines to its computer operation line system. It opens all communication line system to its runway. Exactly. Very good. Excellent, Michael. The position locations in the microvalve, that communication line centers its runway interference location to spine. It adaptates the high interference location to its tower of communication line system, changes all position locations to all line center and north wing position locations to its high system. Okay? So it gets more complicated when you get into the bioatmosphere. Letters, numbers, and shapes change position location in one direction. So if you get a 7 line center, it's not a 7. It's everything through mutation. So 7 equals everything. Okay. So, and the reason why I say 7, because it's my lucky number. You guys have your lucky numbers too. It's how to use it through its correlation to online center. It's incredible force how you use it. You can use it through a digital graph rotation. So you can have graph line centers, 7 days a week locations. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we've got 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 graph line centers. Box position locations of 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so in position locations, right? So you got 7 equals 4 line. Okay, 7 equals 4 equals line. Now, that comes into line graph. Line here, okay, 7 here, okay, equal here, into 4 here, okay, equal here, okay, into location, right? It sets its system locations. So it gets confusing. Channeling high center changes graph line rotations. So once you come into the 7 line center, it all becomes line center location to anything through its equation. And that's how it gets so complicated when you go into the biosphere to its Brownian atmosphere line system. Okay, calculators modify all levels of U. So you just have to learn how to use more box line rotations to its T reception of its location to its system. Box its position locations of its directions. Okay, see that through equation. Setting box channels, T reception lines. Okay, so you got 4 position locations of direction. Okay, so in 4 position line centers comes into 7 locations of all levels through the sun line. Okay, so you get 7 box channels and 4 T reception lines. 7 equals 4 equals level. See, that's how this works. That's a biosphere. So as it comes in high line center, you have to understand the brain position location of its interception. It's interlining its position of its directions. Balance communication line center locations all levels. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 5 in position location of 6, in position locations of 7. 7 graph line center locations and 4 T reception lines. So it's pretty crazy when you go to higher levels, understand line center interference. So it's all about understanding how to use the digital pad line center, teleportation locations, anything, high system. But truly understand how to use the scrambler is all rotation to the system. All right? So it correlates high line center in position locations more atmosphere change line systems. Okay? It's incredible when you actually travel through this, guys. You know, you really get understanding how to use the atmospheres for grids, the hemispheres, stratospheres, and the bio-connected line system. It's all direct locations, right? The easier part you have to understand is setting up your 12 lines of DNA, how to use your 24,000 line conditions of grounds. Now, if you're high channeling, you can go into higher clocking. So you go from 24 to 48,000 line connections of lights in your body system of travel. Mach interference locations into 72 to 144. That's 144,000 lights of your graph location. All right, so you can set that up, all levels of 7. Right? So, because 7 comes mutation of anything. Same with letters, numbers, and shapes. You guys are all connected to everything. So you are bound on information location, which is massive nothing, which is everything through its equation line system. And that's how you travel through all line rotations to its calculation of its north, west, south, and east. It gets more complicated as we go, right? So how are we doing so far? All right. Oh, that's awesome. It just disappeared. Love it. That's exactly what it is. It just disappeared. It didn't come back. I'm showing you how powerful it is. Where you set something, it disappears. There's a reason for that. So, because it's not back in position location. It's not there anymore. So, it's knowing how to really communicate to your body lines, body track locations, body surface, your torical fields. Where is it in calculation? Is it off center? Where's the time capacity interference? Where is the tesseract line channel? Where's the information location to this biosurface? Why am I so many levels of communication off interference? Its position location of its directions, guys. Really start questioning yourself from inside, what gives you all answers of its equation. From its position to all line centers of calculations of north, west, south, and east. Okay. Directing interference line conditions. All right. So one chakra system, okay, starts off with 24,000 lines. 24,000 right there. Okay. So it's all position location in your Merkaba, high channel line center to all levels of your tetrahedron locations. You can channel in so many line centers. So series stand from 24 equals line center to 48. 40E comes up position location of its directions. 40E equals 72. 72 equals 144. That's how it works through location. Right? So it's all about understanding how to zip, zap, zoom in calculation. So that's what you have to truly understand. It's all levels of view. You start with your 24 signals. We already got through 1212. Now the 24 line center is position location of its flight navigations. You have your flight ones. Okay, flight 1 equals 12. You don't have to go flight 1 all the way flight 2, flight 3, because you already know what it is. So once you understand that 12 line centers, 12 times 12 equals 144. Okay, so try to get into this position location. Try to understand how to use it through position locations. Then you understand how to graph it to higher line center. So once you do that position location of its directions, everything to high center changes its location. So it's trying to understand how to use the atmospheric lines, how to use the connections to the hemisphere, how to use the stratosphere, how to use the bile. Now that's just 4 lines, 4 equal lines. Okay, equals grounds. Okay, so it channels position locations of its directions. Grounds, 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 grounds. See, that's how it works. So understanding the graph line center, again, XC1000 comes in, making sure you know what you're doing. Calculating to modify high centers. There it is, looking right there, right? Automatically scans what you're doing. Okay, scans everything that you're doing. So it signals here, signals here, signals here, and signals here, right? Now that's a line graph. Now the line graph comes into online rotation. Sonar line center interference. That's all position location of the web graph line center rotation interference through its computer operation system. All right, so it sets up a graph string. All right, so you walk across linear rotation. So in position line centers, you're all levels of here. This is you getting ready to go into graph screen location, right? So you're walking, you're getting higher line center locations of its ground rotation in position of its directions, right? So you keep walking until you get to the top line. Now that top line changes position of its directions, okay? So once you get a high line center interference, the XD1000 comes over in high interference location, changes coloration line center in position locations, and scans all 3 of you in rotation system. Okay, so as it's scanning the 3 line centers, its position of you through directions. Sonified high line center electrical light connections come to security measures, right? Plaid 2 division locations overcrosses signals in position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, comes into 6 line centers and 7 in activation line system. So this is truly understanding through confusion, right? You have to truly understand what the biosphere is. It's all calculated and modified. We have prohibitive, restricted locations and things that go and things you don't go, things you do and things you don't do, and things that you see and things that you don't see. It's all through location to a graph line center of position locations of north, west, south, and east. So it gets more complicated when you get into higher levels of atmosphere locations of change. Heat signature patterns, timeline, rotation, and position location coloration of interference. Let's say you go into a green lock line center, 4 line position location of its directions, right? It's green, right? So the green line center changes position and direction locations, right? So let's say you just set position locations in 1 line. Okay, see that little there? So that changed position location of direction. See? That changed position of direction. That changes position of direction. That changes position of direction. See? That changes position of direction. See? So it's amazing how things can sky surface and change position of locations. How to scan through it is all levels of graph communication to its lines. So it's opposite location, all levels. You got a rainbow graph line center interference. Okay, you got coloration patterns of the sun, position, location of its directions. Okay, so you start with the security lines to the sun position locations. You don't need to go to 114 chalk line centers. You can start off the high interference locations, all levels, once you get into, the calculations all level to the ground interference. Now that ground interference knows exactly what you are through position, location, of direction, right? So you can go from here, right to the sun line. Okay, it's interesting that you go through that graph location. It's because it's all set up, right? Comes in position of its directions. Okay, how many times you channel through all levels? So an XT1000 comes in, scans what you finished doing into center point position. So once it scans this highlight center, it can come into a pixel activation stream rotation. This circle at its highlight center, it's like a coil resistor. That coil resistor changes the location of its directions to its panel, to its graph line center of its road. It changes position location of its directions. Offline signals its position location offline rotation in calculations into a flux capacitor line channel. Now that flux channel position location changes the energy light centers into all planet interference. Electrical light position location of its directions. So it's in position location, the XT1000 changes coloration. This is where it comes into escape. So the XT1000 goes to the line graph, changes coloration to another line center. See, from here to here. Again, it scans position location, what you finished doing. Every time you change a graph line center, it's always scanning. So once it scans, it understands its center lines. It rotates its signal to the location to its position location all through its fluctuation, right? How to channel through it is all about understanding how to use all levels of equation of the atmosphere, hemisphere, okay, to the stratosphere and the biosurface of its position, all right? So, all right. Yeah. I don't see you did this all by yourself, Jared. It's hard to comprehend that. Well, to comprehend anything is to truly understand you through provision, how to use your avatar is all through calculation. So it's all about how to use these equations, guys. Everything that I do is all levels of memory, Eric, right? So keep doing what you're doing, but follow in your heart. Stay within the heart, stay within the positions of the heart, stay within the activations of the heart, and you do fine. As soon as you go offline center interference, you're not in the heart anymore because you don't want to remember who you are. You don't want to remember who you are, you're doubting your system right away. Okay? So this is the process that you guys have to truly understand. It's handed to you, right? It's given to you through memory, through the avatar. So everything that I say is in chronological order of understanding. You already understand the position location when it comes into travel. You're traveling north, west, south, or east. It doesn't matter where you go. That's a GPS line center right there. That's a crossing locations to a diamond position location north, west, south, and east. That's all it is. You just have to learn how to travel through it. So you're always using north as a reference. Always using north as a reference. Doesn't matter where you go because you're on a different galaxy location in the universe line system. Trying to show you how powerful it is when you go into the biosurface, the bioconnected energy line centers, and understand what the XT1000s are doing. You set up the grids and they set up the shapes through provision. That travels to sideline center locations, all levels. Okay? So, yes, using the scrambler, using the compass. Everybody has a compass. All right? Again, Jared, the same thing with Eric. Why you guys can't see? Because you're not allowing yourself to see. That's all. Try to get in your imagination. Try to look at something forward and try to close your eyes and try to imagine you're seeing these things. That's all it is, right? So if I close my eyes, I'm seeing the computer, I'm seeing the solar text, I'm seeing a car outside, I'm seeing trees outside position, I'm seeing a big mirror, position, location of directions, reflection to my eye line center locations to my glasses, resetting division location of laser direction locations, opening all cycle line centers, sitting down in the chair line rotation interference locations, wall line centers on the right line center interference, all level locations is on the east line position location of the door line center to handle interference location, closet line channel line rotation, ceiling and position location, sun in position in the moon line center rotation to its ground line center, all position location of its direction. I just did a size graph all through AI of detection. So that's very powerful when I just close my eyes and how I see everything all at once. That's all it is. It's memory that's given to you. So try to understand you are a structure of a clock. You are a structure of travel. You are a structure of anomaly that's changing its pattern every single time. You are connected to your own algorithm. You understand that? You are creating your data stream of a computer. Coming in position location comes into the levels of its equation. How to travel through it is another thing. Right? So, all right. Yes, it takes time. Take track line centers, interference, position locations, all levels. We got 46-minute line rotations and 0.9. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There. Boom. Out through equation. You guys are back. So, sequence interference locations, bringing number signals in high center from 6 to 9 took you back to where you are in provisional location to ground line interference. Now you're back. Taking you back to anywhere is all about understanding source direction of space and time. How to position the location to its highline system puts all levels of you in its divine. Right? So. So I did that in the highline centers of 6, 7, 8, 9 and took you guys back all through clocking of 46 minutes in its rotation line system. See? You have to understand how to use everything through its equation, right? You guys have a test review and evaluation coming up, and I really want you to understand how to use your 12 DNA through your flight navigations from 1 to 12. Okay? So, oh, thank you, Pam. That was a lot of fun. So now you know what a biosurface is, biokinetics, location, biogenetics, right? Because now you guys are in the biosurface. It's pretty well, right, to understand what it is. I'm showing you patterns, I'm showing you frames and how to use yourself. Again, you're setting up grids, different structural hologram locations of its reality to its memory locations of numbers, letters, shapes, and symbols. How to use it through its calculation is all modified through you, through north, south, and east. How you use it through your Merkabah location is how you use the torical field to its location of transmitting and receiving information location to its flux capacitor line connections. After that position locations, you can go to higher levels of atmosphere lines. Then you understand the hemisphere, then you understand the stratosphere, and then you understand the bio. You set up the grids, they set up the shapes. That's how this works. So once you get in position location of directions, then you understand how to use yourself as a proactive locations to a system, all through its avatar stream. Okay? It's all you use setting up your levels of travels. How to travel faster in acceleration, how to travel position location of its directions to astral connections, astral projections, and anything through alliance of levels, ground line center, all position location of its direction. All right? So, yep. Closing all portals. It's funny. That's interesting. Yeah. You guys are catching on. And like you have your test coming up and a review and evaluation, I really want you to understand how to use more levels of view, especially when you're traveling. Wherever you're traveling, you're changing the atmospheres of time and space and time. You truly have to learn how to use it through your north, west, south, and east because you're traveling every single day through your thoughts. What do you think? Your thoughts should travel forward? No, they travel wherever you go. If I'm setting signals here, it's traveling here. If I'm turning here, they're traveling here. If I'm turning here, they're traveling here. If I'm turning here, they're traveling here. But everything I go is levels reference locations of north. It's always a reference. because the galaxy shifts so much. You know, the flowing recognition of time is space and its clocking system. You're going to be on a 24 angle. You can be on a 48. You can be on a 72 or 144 or Mach location to position location going forward. All right. So very powerful class. You guys did it exceptionally well. All right. So tomorrow we're going to get more into the review on the test. Okay. Because it's coming up. All right. On Saturday. All right. Talk to you guys later. Adios.